Hello YouTube, this is Judson Game 44 here, and today I am here to review The Amazing Digital Circus Episode 6. This one is actually getting first really funny. Sumo is hiding in a pod and everything, as she clearly does not want to go on another adventure, especially since this one is going to be an indoor adventure. And remembering from the very first one back in Episode 1, we saw how that turned out for her, so she's hiding. But King does eventually find her, along with Jax and Pawnee. And because of this, they all then head to the main area, where it's apparently a bunch of sports ideas, which are very random and confusing. And eventually, no one really wants to do them, so he does like he then suggests a trust building exercise. But really, Jax quickly ruins it. And ultimately, Kane is like, you know what, fine, we'll just play a shooting game. Everyone just grab a gun and just shoot each other with. Which this is pretty much like the previous adventures that were all pretty much like games from an online thing or something you could play on your phone or a game system. This is pretty much just a straight out shooting game. There's no even hinting to it. So anyway, when it comes to this, is that the characters have 5 minutes to choose what teams they are on. Jax was going to have Gango on his team, but Gango wanted Sumo to be on her team, and Sumo came over and said, Jax, she wants to be with me, she doesn't want to be with you like always. Times are changing. And those two went off. Ragatha was going to get on with Kinger because she did not wanted Kinger to be with Jax. But because of this, Panyu was the one who wanted Ragatha on her team, but because she said that, Jax and Pawnee end up becoming teammates. But you can clearly tell that Pawnee actually did want it. I mean, not Pawnee, Ragatha actually did wanted Pawnee to be on her team. But it wasn't meant to be. Now, when the 5 minutes were ultimately up, all the guns disappeared and everything from the pile, and they quickly realized the guns are all scattered across the map, so they have to go find them first. Now, it's funny before we get on to this, is that Ragatha, when Jax ruined the whole entire thing, because they were supposed to do a trust exercise that were evolve with guns, but he ultimately just used the trigger and just shot Ragatha. Why am I getting these names wrong? Sorry, anyway. Besides all that, because of that, for some reason, even before the game started, it already seemed like that already counted as one life missing. But when they were heading out to look for them, Kinger actually gave her a golden butterfly, and it restored her health. And she was wondering, how did you do that? Did something Kinger told you? And Kinger basically said, no, I made it up. And Ragatha was like, what? Also, when it came to Sumo and Genga, those two characters were honestly nice. As it was nice for them just talking together, where Genga was honestly kind of worried that about Jax would be mad at her for not being on the same team. But Sumo is there comforting her, and they actually have a nice talk and everything. Eventually, she helps her get over it and help them play the game together. It was also nice that she was even protecting the mask so it doesn't break before she can go wild and crazy with it. Now, when it comes to Jax and Panyu, they're kind of like the most interesting because this is kind of more focused around these two characters, where Jax is basically teaching her, this is a cartoon, Pawnee. You don't have to be afraid or worried about anything, because Pawnee actually doesn't want to play this game, despite the fact it's all just kind of like a game, where no one's actually getting hurt or anything. Jax helps her to loosen up and just have fun. And honestly, that's kind of what this thing is. Throughout the whole almost throughout the video, is that all these three teams are like going against each other and basically shooting each other, and they all have 3 lives. And it's really funny. First, Kinger, well, actually, no, it was Ragatha, but dang. Ragatha did start getting worried, basically telling Jax, you're just trying to make her like you and everything. And Jax got offended and angry because, well, I mean, technically they were still playing a game. And I mean, Ragatha, you didn't choose Pawnee, you just made an excuse not to. Because you said you wanted Kinger because you did not want Kinger to be with Jax on the team. So anyway, besides all that happened, Ragatha was the first one to be eliminated, and eventually so did Kinger. And I mean, honestly, it was funny how Kinger got. He actually seemed to be like he got himself ended up. And for the losers, once all 3 lives are gone, they're put into a small room with a very dim lit fish tank, which is kind of like a nice calm room, I would say, to relax in. Basically, the loser corner or something. Now, during this time, the two actually have a talk where Kinger basically tries to talk to Ragatha and comfort her that you don't have to worry about everyone else all the time. You have to let them be themselves and let them handle their own problems, but you need to also put yourself first. It was actually a nice moment, but also I think the reason why he was able to talk this way to her was because how dimly lit it was. The darkness basically took over. Now, eventually, the next characters that also got deleted was Gengar and Sumer. When these two characters got eliminated, it was really fun, honestly. When Gengar lose the game and everything, her mask finally broke, but from that comedy mask, her sad mask was actually having a big smile as if she was laughing. And then she was ended up. And as for Sumo, like she went full forearm mode. She got more parts and put 4 arms where she can now hold full 4 weapons. And she was able to get rid of 2 extra lives from both of them. And when that was over and everything, they eventually won. And it seemed like one of them was going to betray the other, which Pawnee was expecting that and thought, okay, now it's just you and me. We're going to betray each other and let's see who wins. But Jax doesn't do that. He basically says, okay, just do it then. And like it actually then turns into an argument and everything. And Pawnee brings up the fact that eventually when things get more serious, she really wants to know, what would happen if I was to be extracted the next day? And he would pretty much say, I would probably forget you and move on. That kind of is a callback from episode 2, honestly, when she had that nightmare. Jax was in that nightmare where he said the exact same thing. I don't even remember her name. Now, it's honestly kind of interesting when it comes to Jax when this is because I kind of honestly believe he was lying about what he said. Because, like, I feel like he's really scared about something. But eventually, it becomes a physical fight between the two characters. And Jax pretty much leaves her. Now, after all that, besides the whole entire game and everything, Kane pretty much had this whole entire contest and everything about the most favorite character. And pretty much what happens was we get to go to this whole entire award ceremony where we pretty much see them all sitting down, but Jax is kind of starting to panic, looking like he's going to get extracted. Because honestly, that was what I was thinking. With him starting to breathe heavily in the bathroom, hiding away from everyone else. Now, for Pawnee, she did look sad and everything, knowing that Jax was very far away from the whole group. And when the favorite character was finally to be announced, he said, "Oh my goodness, it's me, everyone!" Basically, at first I thought, "Oh my goodness, you just made this about yourself." But then he stopped and said, "Wait, oh, it's me." Which basically was another NBC. Which, when the NPC came over, he said, "Yeah, now we both look dumb." Also, I didn't know about this until I did watch a review, and then I went back onto this episode. It turns out, if you kept looking at the credits, and then when that was over, we do see Kang in the backstage looking at the whole entire votes of who everyone got to be the favorite character. And from what it seems, Kinger was definitely the favorite, while Kane got absolutely none for votes. And that started to make him kind of like, honestly, I don't even know what happened. But honestly, it was because of this. Kane, something is basically happening. Now, what was my opinion with this whole entire episode? Honestly, it's definitely a 9 out of 10. It was actually nice to do another indoor adventure from the very first episode. Although the glowings were really not my type of favorite, but this was actually more my favorite because everyone was being involved and actually trying to have fun. I actually thought it was pretty much funny that they were all running around the inside of the tent, as we really didn't see that much, really, as they were mostly just going on into different adventures almost at the very beginning of the game, or were in like the main room. So it was kind of refreshing that they were actually exploring throughout the whole entire digital circus area. Now, besides all the whole entire digital circus thing, I'm not gonna lie, I actually really did love the characters were all like chasing each other and pretty much trying to win. It was actually definitely most likely the most feel like it was a real game. Besides like the horror game from episode 3, or kind of like, dang, or like the candy game, or heck, pretty much even some parts of the other adventures in a way. They kind of felt like video games, but they kind of also felt like not. Now, besides all that, when it comes to all these characters, I personally did love how they were all interacting with each other. I definitely did enjoy when Kinger and Ragtha were talking when they both lost. And I definitely love when Sumo and Genga were like talking together as well. I think those were nice moments. And I did kind of found it more interesting with Jax, because I feel like he was honestly lying, personally to me, or like he's being denying. Like, I really don't think he really meant what he said, but I think he was holding it in, not wanting to admit how he truly feels. Because honestly, for what it seems, I really think he definitely lost it when he lost Froggy. Because in the same episode, even in the previous one, we noticed that he was looking at a door with a frog in it. And because of this, it seems like those two were actually friends. And that might have been something that Ragatha was talking about that she accidentally said without even realizing it when they were in the previous episode. And she eventually apologized for. Now, besides all this, this was actually an interesting episode because on with this episode and the next two, things definitely get a lot more interesting and darker. Like, this was just the beginning of it, really, because throughout each episode they slowly get more darker and more deeper with something. And now that we finally reached this one, the next two will definitely get more deeper, especially when episode 9 comes out. I can't wait when that one does. But episodes 7 and 8 are definitely going to be interesting to review. But until then, Justin Game 44 signing out. Until then, I'll see you later. Bye!